Hey, what's up, guys? I'm just waiting for the live to start. It'll start any minute now. These guys are usually right on time. I don't know if there's going to be any updates tonight or what. I like watching these. I like being a part of these updates every night. I don't know if any big announcements or anything. But we'll find out in a minute. And yeah, man, stay tuned, man. The links are in the side on the chat if you want to join. And if you want to check out the debit card, man, with low fees and no KYC, guys. That link is in the side too. That's going to be big. You're going to need that for Sosana, my friends. So with that saying, guys, we should be starting in a second, man. Tomorrow I'll be back live. I couldn't trade today. I had an appointment. I thought I'd be back, but I didn't get back in time, and then I had to go out again in the afternoon, so I couldn't come on live at all. But I will be back tomorrow, man, 9 a.m. sharp. All right, here we go, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, man. Live trade.
All right, guys. Welcome. Let me turn off the waiting room here so we can let everybody in. I want to thank you guys for actually being here. This is Coach Brian. Guys, we're going to get started here in just about a second. Let me just give you guys a second, though, to chime in. But you guys know the drill as I'm getting everything set up here with the system. Here we go. People are already doing it. I love it. SoCal, Houston, West Texas in the house. Welcome, guys. Appreciate everyone being here. Appreciate you guys all actually take some time out of your schedule to pop in and join us. And we're going to get started here in just about a minute or so. Excited to be here. I think I mentioned to a lot of you guys last week that I'm on vacation this week. But I am absolutely obsessed about this project. So definitely wanted to take some time, even off of vacation, if you will, to be here for this call. Just talk to you about a couple things tonight. We're not going to make it long, but I do want it to be informative. I want people to always be learning and improving themselves, improving their positioning in the project, and getting themselves ready to have some real success. So again, those of you, you're very welcome, Lori. It's my pleasure. Those of you who haven't already done so, who don't know the drill, if you're here for the first time or not really paying attention, guys, go into the Telegram group and just say where you're from. Let us know where you're actually chiming in from. I personally love the international nature of this. I love the amount of people we have from all over the place. Busy Izzy and from Mexico. And I think for me, what is really, really cool is how quickly in a short period of time, this has really started to reach out across the world. Every day, somebody's calling me up saying, "Hey, man, we've got somebody in, who just got in from this country,
Sorry, guys, I had a
this country, and this place, and they're a big deal in this place, and they're going to bring, so many people. It's just amazing to me, the growth of this community." So I am extremely committed to it, as I know a lot of you are. And guys, again, we'll get started here in about 30 seconds. But again, not going to keep you long tonight. Just want to share some information with you guys. I try to do stuff in very real time, based off of what I'm seeing, what I'm observing. Iowa, welcome. Florida, lots of Florida. I'm in Florida right now, so I'm in Siesta Key. So love this, love Siesta Key, but state of Florida, you guys got some incredible weather, beaches, just fun down here that is really, really cool. And I've been having the time of my life. And I want to apologize too for those people. There's been some people have sent me some messages like, "Hey man, don't know if you got about 5 minutes right now, but if you can, man, it's not going to take long. It's kind of time sensitive. Can you call me back?" No phones allowed when scuba diving. No phones allowed when swimming with the manatees. No phones allowed when parasailing. It's hard to get on my phone when I'm jet skiing. So just reality, guys. If I haven't gotten back to you, I'm sorry. It's unlike me. I'm back in the loop on Saturday evening. Actually, probably more like Sunday morning. And then I'll be back to it. So I know I've been a little bit difficult to reach here, but I do apologize. We've actually been on vacation, like for real. In fact, my wife and I met some people today who invited us out into their yacht party tonight. And you see where I am. So that's my level of commitment. That's definitely my level of commitment. is to be here for the community all the time, at all times. So with that said, guys, let me go through a couple of things with you that I think are incredible. The first is, Mark and I have been talking every day, and Mark told me that for the last couple of calls, he's been really focusing on, talking about where we are, where we're going, talking about some patience and everything that people need to have. And, I mentioned something to Mark earlier today, and I'll see it on the call tonight. It is really complex and really difficult to do something when you're doing it for real, right? And what I mean by that is for those of you that are brand new to the crypto space, you may not understand this, but for those of you who've been around for a while, you've been involved, I'm sure, with a lot of things that claim to be one thing and are not really that thing. A lot of rug pulls, a lot of fake stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really easy to set up a scam. It is. I mean, and I'm not trying to say that some of these scams that are set up are not elaborate, but at the end of the day, you need to think about this. In a real company, you have to figure out the marketing and the messaging for your product or service, and you also have to have the product or service. In a scam, you have to figure out the marketing and the messaging, but you don't actually need the product or service, right? Because that it's all fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all just, Ponzi, whatever, on the back end. So you claim to have all this great stuff happening behind the scenes, but it's all a lie, right? It's all gazy, as they say. So it's a lot faster to set those things up because you don't actually need the back end, right? You don't need the product. You don't need the service. What we are trying to do and what we are doing has never been done before. And it's so interesting when I talk to Dave and I get on these conversations and we talk about, okay, smart contract is done, programmers have done this, submit it to the auditors, submit it to the attorneys, and then it's when the auditors come back and say, hey, this looks good to us, but the attorneys are like, I don't know if we want to do things that way or that way, or vice versa. The attorneys are like, everything you just did perfectly set up and perfectly legal, perfectly defensible. No worries there. We're not going to have any regulator problems. But the auditors are like, yeah, but the way the code is written, and we know you guys want to have some variation that you want to be able to do for certain things, but the way the code is written, that could actually represent security, like a security breach. So, we want you guys. It's interesting trying to thread the needle, if you will, when you are trying to do something not only the right way, but you want to do it forever. So somebody actually said something really cool. It was like, do we want to record? So yes, we do want to record. So let me just record this real quick.
Recording in progress.
Awesome. That's what I talk about, team right there. Anyway, so ultimately, guys, again, when you're trying to do something the right way, it does take time, and it is something. And but we are, we had some good conversations with the developers today, the elders today. And, I'm not a person who just wants to throw out a date of, it's going to be done tomorrow, done that, because I know how the development world works, where they say, hey, we can have this done in 24 hours. And then in 23 and a half hours, it's like, we did this one thing and we thought it was going to job up like this, but now we have to do this and we have to test it or whatever. But I will just say we are finally very, very close to being able to launch the additional aspects of this that I know a lot of us have been waiting for. Because at the end of the day, let's face it. I mean, I'm always an honest broker. I know that a lot of you are like, hey, Nick, the moment we have everything in place, the moment we have the voting mechanism, the moment we have the affiliate program, we can just go out and we got a bunch of people that are waiting because they're excited, and we can just start launching this thing into the stratosphere. And that's when we're going to see the price start running away, because we'll have so many people buying because they want to become affiliates. We'll have other people buying because they want the tokens. We'll have a lot of advertising going on, et cetera, et cetera. So believe me, guys, no matter how, I think Mark told me that he said, no matter how impatient or anxious or excited for the future that you guys are, it doesn't compare to maybe what we are. I don't know. I don't want to say it doesn't compare, because I never want to talk about how somebody feels about someone. I know a lot of you guys are very, very, very excited. But we are very anxious as well. I love marketing. This stuff that we're doing now is all critically important for the longevity of this project, that we are around a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But I cannot wait until it's done. I cannot wait to get to the stuff that I really enjoy doing, which is, knowing that you have your hands on the greatest story that's going to be told in this space for a long time to come, and being able to go out and share it with people in as many unique and powerful ways as you can. So with that said, I want to cover three quick things on this call. The first, and this is interesting to me because I was literally sitting on the beach. I promised my wife, don't tell me, I promised my wife that I would just relax. I mean, the reason why my wife always wants to go somewhere for vacation where there's water, because she knows I love the water, and she also knows I can't take my phone in the water. So it is probably the only time that she sees, because I have some serious workaholic tendencies. I don't know if any of you have serious workaholic tendencies, but I have serious workaholic tendencies. Like, I need to work on that, and I know I need to work on that. But I was, my wife was in the water and I was relaxing for a minute. I said, man, let me just check, my phone and see what's going on, and check the Telegram group. And, I opened up Telegram, and I'm not paying attention. Because I was peeking to see if she was looking at me, to see if I was on my phone. And I just I saw, a group that said Sosana, and I clicked on it. And what I clicked into was one of the many scam Telegram groups that we have, that are out there, right? That are just, pretending to be us, so that they can, in essence, for no other reason than to victimize people who are excited about Sosana, thinking they're on a Sosana group. So clearly, I got added into one or two of these groups, and I know a lot of you have been added as well, but I've never really taken time to actually read what's in these groups. And, I gotta say, man, first of all, I feel every time that someone tells me that they got scammed in one of these fake groups, I feel horrible. I do. I feel absolutely horrible that somebody got scammed. I mean, it's a really, really bad thing. I know people are losing, they're working really hard, they're losing their tokens, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, and I've seen people come through and say, man, this is just really bad. But I read something in one of these, and I'm trying to find it right now. It's so funny. Like, now that I'm trying to find the scam group, I wonder if they're on here right now. They're like, kick him out of the group before he can, before he can read. But I noticed that there's a theme in a lot of these groups, and here's how I kind of want to state this for you guys, because I want this to be very clear about something, right? Which is when you actually sign up, and you get a wallet, and you actually get your private keys, what you're being given, right? Your seed phrase, or, et cetera, is like an access to your crypto safe that is unhackable, right? It is absolutely unhackable. So which means that your crypto assets are 100% safe unless you give somebody the combination, right? And I need you to think about it that way, because it's not just the people who are on this Zoom right now. It's not just the people who are going to potentially, because you guys are leaders, that you're going to share this with your team. You need your people to understand that the only way that you are going to get taken advantage of, right, and hacked and have your crypto stolen is if you actually willingly give someone the combination to your safe, right? It's literally like they can break into your house, they can do all that kind of stuff, they can find the safe, but they cannot get into your safe unless you give them the combination to your safe, right? And I think it's important for you to understand that. And I tell you, I popped into one of these scam groups, and I'm reading like their latest announcement. And I mean, everything looks like Sosana. It's like the Sosana logo. It's it's all communicating back and forth. The first thing I noticed though is that I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the names in our Telegram group. And the first thing I noticed is like I didn't recognize any of the names. So right away I was like, okay, cool. This cannot be our place. But then I read something and it was just like really exciting. And it's just, hey, Sosana, we are so excited. We've got so many of you participating in our $1 million airdrop. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen this before, but I know there's no $1 million airdrop going on. So that was like, okay, cool, clearly a scam. But now you got my curiosity. Now, what are you guys saying? And then they walk in and say, all you have to do is walk through these steps. Step number 1, go here to this link. Step number 2, connect your wallet. Step number 3, enter your seed phrase safely and securely. Enter your seed phrase, and right there is the ask, as they say. When you're talking about con men, right? You can always spot the con because at some point in time there's the ask, right? Again, when you're talking about somebody trying to scam you out of your crypto, right? Again, if you remember, they can't take your crypto unless you give them the combination to your safe, which means at some point in time, they have to ask you for the combination. So it doesn't matter all the other glitz and glamour that they're doing and all the other, the things going up and all the other people in here, because there's like all these fake people that are all putting in all these incredible testimonials. This is the coolest thing ever. I was actually able to connect and get my share of free Sosana tokens. Thank you, Sosana, for doing this $1 million airdrop. I mean, all this stuff I'm seeing, all this crap, because it's all fake. And it actually kind of infuriates me because I know this is all done to basically scam our family, scam our community. And I kind of take that very personally. But at the end of the day, I'm reading it and eventually they get to the ask. And the ask is for you to, it says, enter your seed phrase to verify your wallet, which, I know about crypto. I think a lot of you guys know about crypto. That's complete and utter BS. But we are attracting a lot of people to crypto for the very first time. We are, right? And we are attracting a very excited and committed and diligent community. Everybody's looking to win. And, all of a sudden they're getting sucked into one of these groups because they're able to, again, Telegram. I'm not the biggest fan. Once we finish launching our affiliate program, note to the scammers, because I know you're probably on here now, you're watching this, we will have our own internal communication system, and we will not have to use Telegram anymore. In our internal communication system, everybody will be KYC. So that's going to eliminate a lot of this garbage and BS. But in the interim, I just wanted to say, man, like, I hope, it's one thing to spend all the time to get your hard-earned money together to go out and buy your crypto assets, in this case, Sosana tokens. It's another thing to keep those assets, right? And you need to protect them as hard as you can. But not only that, even for those of you on here, like, I know this, I know how to do this. Make sure your people know it, right? Don't assume that anyone is wise enough and savvy enough to not get taken. A friend of mine sent me a story, and it was it was a guy basically talking about some of the things and some of the people that have been scamming crypto. And it was interesting to me because it was about these teenage kids who got the idea that they wanted to get some easy money, and they decided that they were going to find some unsuspecting person who had Bitcoin, and they were going to steal their Bitcoin. And they worked out this whole scam where they were going to call the person. They were going to do two things. First, call the person, see if they can find enough about them on social media to figure out like where they banked at. If somebody ever mentioned, like, I went to Bank of America today or something like that, but also find out that they had Bitcoin. And then they were going to call the person. And first they were going to call them and pretend to be the bank and let them know that there's an issue with their bank account because, it appears that they've been hacked, and, there seems to be an issue with their bank account. and they're just calling up to verify some information. And then they were going to call the person shortly after and let them and say, hey, there's an issue with your Bitcoin account. It appears that you've been hacked and blah, 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 blah. And here's the thing. They called up a guy. They found a guy, older gentleman, who they did this to after doing some brief research. And they got the guy to agree. They had him basically go, and they said, well, listen, just go check your account. Go make sure everything's okay. Go make sure your seed phrase hasn't been changed, and pull up your seed phrase. And then they said, do you see this button? And which they just made up some button. And he was like, no, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know what's going on. I said, okay, this is the only way we can verify. And then they said to him, would you mind if we actually remote linked to your website, to your computer, so we can show you where the button is. We can get this all. And that was the ask. And he allowed them to remote link to his computer while he had his seed phrase up. And they got his seed phrase. They had his wallet. And they said, okay, it looks like everything is okay. It looks like it was a false alarm, blah, 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 blah. They get off with him. And about 15 minutes later, they emptied out his Bitcoin from his account. His Bitcoin in his account. This is the one I mean that anybody.
Damn, that's crazy.
Was over $70 million.
Oh.
$70 million. You would think that someone
he should know
who
better.
had $70 million of crypto would be savvy enough to not fall for something like that. But not true. He fell for it. And they would have gotten away with it. In fact, they did get away with it for quite a while. But because they were kids, one of the kids, nice little share of $70 million.
I mean, driving around in Lambos.
Somebody, felt like he never got his recognition, felt like people never talked about how great he was, and now he wants to actually be great. Man, one of the kids, he went out and he just went on this ridiculous kind of spending spree, which once again, still could have got away with it, except it wasn't enough for him to buy new cars and buy all these,
crazy, man.
Whatever the coolest, latest glasses and sneakers are, and hanging out at all clubs and everything, and make it rain with all the money. He had to put it all on social media, all of it on social media, because that was the only way that he was going to feel like he was the big guy. And that's how they got caught, because the one kid just couldn't shut it down. They got caught. They backtracked it to this guy. Guy got, he got the Bitcoin back that they had. He didn't get the Bitcoin that they spent back. But those kids are in jail, for doing that. But if they had been slicker about it, or if the kid could have controlled his little, his tendencies that he wants to be the big man all the time, they would have walked away with the guy's tens of millions of dollars, and there would have been nothing he could do about it. So I say all that to say that, nobody right now is holding tens of millions of dollars in present value of Sosana. I say in present value because I believe that some of you probably are holding millions or tens of millions of dollars in future value of Sosana. But just, don't assume that your team knows. Make sure that every single person that comes on your team, you're making them aware. There's fake Sosana contracts out there. So you actually walk them through exactly how to get our token. So they're getting our token, number one. Then also there's fake Sosana groups out there. So even after you give them the actual Telegram group and they're added to it, let them know it's very possible you're going to wake up one morning and you're going to have 5 Sosana groups. And the reality is, all of them are fake except for the one that I gave you. And if any of them are asking, like I even saw one that was like, remember, they're saying the same thing we're saying, which lets me know that they're just listening to our webinars. But they're like, remember, report to us any scams or any activity. We will never actually, none of our devs will call you directly. They say that at the end of their message, in the same exact message where they're saying, please carefully put in your seed phrase. So it's kind of like, wow. I mean, these guys, they understand it. They understand psychology. They understand little keywords, buzzwords to get people to take action. But again, and just keep in mind, guys, do not at any time give people your seed phrase information, and please make sure no one on your team does that. So that's my security covering. Next thing I want to talk about is one of my favorite subjects. It is just business building, and because I get people reaching out to me all the time on Telegram, and those of you who have my phone number or text me or call me or stuff, and you're constantly asking me about the best ways to talk about Sosana to people, or the best ways to talk about cryptocurrency to people, or the best ways to kind of just create some conversation starters. For those of you who know me, that one of my things that I always talk about is the 3C, the 3C I call it. I actually call it C3 actually, but consistent, compelling conversations, like that to me is your focus, and your goal should always be to be having consistent, compelling conversations. I can't remember the last time that I went a day where, there's been a couple times where I got just so absorbed in work that I did not leave the house. I was just on the computer all day working on something, putting together a PowerPoint, talking to developers, whatever. But I can't remember the last time that I left my house, the last day that I left my house, and I did not talk to someone new about Sosana. I cannot remember the last time that was. It's been a long time. Months and months and months and months and months since I've left my house. So I was out there in the world, interacting with somebody. I don't care if it was at a restaurant, at a store, at a gas station, whatever, and did not somehow figure out a way to talk to someone about Sosana. And I want to give you guys an example of what I mean. I know people are like, well, I try to talk to people and they're not interested, or they don't seem to be interested. And I think maybe some of it is because of, how direct your approach is, or maybe what you're saying. But, my wife and I, we come down here to Siesta Key. We land, come to the condo, drop our stuff. We're starving, because we were on a plane for a few hours and didn't get a chance to eat beforehand. So we land, go right to, drop our stuff, go right to our restaurant. We've been here all of, from the time we landed to the time it took our, we had a car service to drive us to our condo. We've been on the ground about 45 minutes, and we're sitting at a restaurant, and our server comes over. And it's a tourist area, and she's like, hey, how you guys work? She said, are you in town on vacation? And we were like, we are. And she said, are you celebrating something? Are you guys just taking a vacay? And my wife was like, well, yeah. We're we want to take this vacation. It's our 25th anniversary. So we've been kind of celebrating that.
Congratulations.
Actually, we've been celebrating our 25th anniversary for a couple of months, just doing some different things. And she said, oh, that's great. And I said, yeah. I said, and this is me, consistent, compelling conversations. I can't help it. It's just how I'm wired. I said, yeah. I said, plus, it was kind of cool. I said, because, shortly before we came down here, just purely coincidentally, the crypto market went down. So that gave us yet another reason to celebrate. That's an interesting statement. If you guys really think about what I just said, the crypto market went down. So that gave us another reason to celebrate. And it was very intentional what I said. And you guys can probably imagine, that right away that elicited a response, from her. And she was like, so not a fan of crypto. I said, absolutely not. I said, I love crypto. I said, what are you talking about? Love crypto. Why would you think I was not a fan of crypto? And she said, oh, because you just said that you were celebrated that the market went down. And I said, of course I did. And I said, listen, let me ask you a question. I said, what is your, I don't just meeting you for the first time, obviously don't know a lot about you. I said, but what's like your favorite store? I said, I don't know if it's, I have no idea. It could be anything. It could be art. It could art store. It could be jewelry store. It could be clothing store. It could be, shoes. She said, I love jewelry. I love jewelry. And she said, my favorite store. And she named a store I never heard of. She said, but that's my favorite store. I said, great. I said, so imagine walking in there and everything that you've always wanted to buy, all the pieces, the cool pieces that you've had your eye on, they're all on sale. I said, would that be a good day or a bad day? She was like, that'd be a great day. I said, exactly. That's how I feel about the crypto market. I said, I look at it, the market is down. All the cool pieces that I've wanted, they're all on sale. So for me, this is a reason for celebration, because at the end of the day, all these blue chip cryptos like Bitcoin, Bitcoin is, of course, Bitcoin, they're all on sale. So we can buy, all these blue chip assets that we wanted to buy anyway, but now we can buy them at a much better price. I said, now the difference is, sometimes you buy clothing and, jewelry and all this kind of stuff. And, once you walk out of the store with it and the price goes down, right? Because now it's used. There is no such thing as used crypto. I said, we walk off out of the store with it and then we just hold it and the value goes back up. People don't hold it against us that it's used. I said, they still want it so we can sell it at a high profit. And she said, oh, I never thought of it like that. She said, I never thought of it like that. And I said, yeah. I said, so, that's why we do it. I said, now those are the blue chip assets, and, my wife's looking at me like, here he goes. Right? But I can't help it. I can't help it, guys. I can't help it. I said, those are like the blue chip assets, the ones. I said, but, and they're going to go up. I said, but then there's the other ones where you can get really, really high wins and really, really high losses. And she said, yeah, I know some people who have really lost bad with crypto. I said, yeah, of course. I said, because it's, some of the stuff, man, it all looks good, all sounds good, all smells good, but it's not good. I said, it's really hard to determine the difference. I said, but thank God for Sosana. I think I don't even know if you guys are getting the marketing prowess here, but thank God for Sosana, and then say nothing else. And you already know what's going to happen next. What is Sosana? I was like, oh my God. Funny you should ask. And it just opens up the door for the conversation of it. So I'm going to fast forward to the end. She got really excited about Sosana. She got really excited about it. And then she had another bartender come over who considers himself like a burgeoning crypto bro. And she was like, you gotta meet these guys. You gotta meet these guys. And he comes over, his guy Mike comes over, and he's like, yes, I hear you guys are like crypto experts. I'm not saying I'm a crypto expert. I said, listen, that's why I'm really excited about this project Sosana, because you don't have to be a crypto expert, right? You can kind of take advantage of, what they're calling this crowdsourced intelligence model. And we started having a conversation about Sosana. We exchanged information, right? And both of them are like, we're really excited to kind of learn more about this Sosana project, because it sounds awesome. Now, we also got to eat. So we didn't starve to death. We also got to eat. That it was a restaurant. That's why we were there. But my point is that, to me, conversations about this are so easy. They are so easy, and you just got to find ways to work it in without beating people over the head about it. If I had said, hey, we're also, I said, we're also excited, and also because the crypto market went down, so we had another reason to celebrate. And she said, oh, that's great. What can I get you? That would have been the end of the conversation, right? I mean, but the point is, I'm saying stuff for the purpose of eliciting a response, so that it flows more like a natural conversation. And if a person is curious, that's a person that you can kind of continue to draw in and work it to where you want to work it to. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is, at the end of the day, by the way, the market is down, right? I mean, the crypto market is down. It is a great time to have conversations with people. I would be curious if all of you tomorrow, tried to have 3 to 5 conversations where you just told people how excited you were, man, life is great. And they're like, why? What's going on? And say, I don't know if you're aware, but the crypto market is down. And just stop right there. Don't say anything else. Just tell them how excited you are. And they say, why are you so excited? Why, hey, how's your day going? Man, my day is incredible. Why is your day so incredible? I don't know if you saw, but the crypto market is down. And just shut up and let them say the next thing. I promise you what the next thing is going to be. Why are you so excited that the crypto market is down, or what, you hate crypto, or I mean, it just creates an opening for you to then have a conversation that they are a part of because they now ask you a question. And this is how, it's so funny to me. People make, they ask for scripts and all this kind of stuff like that, and they make building their business so much more difficult than it really has to be, as opposed to just having these, consistent, compelling conversations with people where you can actually draw a person's attention. And the next thing you know, a person is saying to you, how can I learn more about that? Or, hey, if I gave you my phone number, could you, or my email address, could you send me, like, they're asking you for this stuff, not the other way around, because you've actually gotten their thing. I'll give you guys another one. People always would ask me what I do, and I love this, and I can't take credit for it. I heard this from someone else. He used it once or twice. I turned it, I elevated it to an art form. I said, I heard him say, once or twice I said this, and I was like, oh, that's my new line. But when people ask me what I do, I say I'm a second income consultant, and I shut up. I've never said that to one person ever who didn't say to me, I don't understand, a second
What the hell is that?
consultant? What is that? And then my response is always the same. It's like, oh, okay. I said, well, hey, listen, I said, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people right now, who are working, their full-time jobs, they're still finding it hard, even with their full-time jobs, full-time income from their career. They're still finding it hard to make ends meet, or to at least have enough money left over to be able to kind of do some of the things and achieve some of the big financial goals that they have. And I said, so, like, for instance, what do you do? And they tell me, I'm an engineer. I said, great, because I work with a lot of engineers. I said, so, there's a lot of engineers who are like, hey, I'm an engineer, went to school for a lot of years to learn how to do that. I love what I do. I make decent money. But still, when I'm done paying, for, my house, my cars, my taxes, my kids' tuition, everything, there's just not a whole lot left over to be able to take some of those next big steps that I want to take. I said, so they're looking for credible ways to earn a second income, where they can earn additional money. It fits their skill set, fits some of their passion, does not interfere with their primary income. And I'm the type of guy who helps them find those, those incomes. I said, right now I'm working with a couple of really cool projects that people find exciting, and I'm matching them up with those projects. And I shut up. And if they say, oh, that's cool, conversation's over. If they say, well, like, what projects? Guys, so again, we can do this all day. But what I'm trying to say to you is, if you are looking for ways to consistently build your network, pique people's interest in any kind of setting, there are ways to do it. If you just kind of, just in your mind say, I'm going to have these, consistent, compelling conversations on a daily basis. I'm going to pique people's interest. I'm going to figure out, little cool things I can say to kind of pique a person, to see if a person just asked me a question, and get them to ask you, what is that? Or why are you so excited about the market being down? Or what's a second income consultant? Or what's this? Or what's that? If you can do that, why did you say, thank God for Sosana? What is Sosana? Little things like that will have a person approaching you saying, please give me more. That is huge. Third and final thing is this, and this is important because I think this is important to understand about people, as well as to understand about yourselves. If you go on to social media right now, if you go onto a person's funnel right now where they're trying to sell you something or get you excited about something, or a program or a project or anything, and they're trying to get you fired up. It's all pretty much the same, in that they're going to have some compelling photos and pictures of lifestyle, right? Ferraris and yachts, and or some cool stuff, some, like, somebody on a hammock on a beach, you know what I mean? Or, you know, somebody up, you know, chilling on the top of a mountaintop overlooking the view, you know, whatever somebody's definition of lifestyle and freedom is, that's what they're going to show. And it's all of these things. It's always interesting to me because you see enough of that you could almost believe, right? Almost believe that that a person actually responds to, somebody said it's more fun in the Philippines. That's why I'll come there next. So a person actually responds to these things that drive pleasure. Like that's the type of stuff that actually really gets a person to commit to do something and work for something. So it's always a shock to you when you find out that, you know, somebody gets excited about something. They get excited about Sosana, right? And then, you know, seemingly in no time, 15 minutes later or 30 minutes later, like, oh man, you know, things aren't happening fast enough for me. You know, man, I quit, or I gotta take a break, or I gotta do, and you know, you're always like, what? You know, and this has been like, and I remember this used to really disturb me because I would go through all these really, really great, you know, things I learned and these techniques to recruit people and build a team, and how quickly people would just give up until I learned about what really motivates people. And what I learned was that people spend the majority of their time, and this is psychologically and scientifically proven, people spend the majority of their time moving away from pain, not moving towards pleasure. So what I always thought was interesting was all the marketing I see is about moving towards pleasure, right? It's like, wouldn't you like to live in this house? Wouldn't you like to drive this car? Wouldn't you like to have, you know, date this person? You know, wouldn't you like all these different things, man? It's like, man, you know, but the reality is those are things that can pique your interest, but those are not the things that get you committed to put the work in, right? Most people, when they really put the work in, is because they're trying to move away from pain. So think about this for a second. People will work harder to make sure that they can pay their rent or their mortgage in their current home or apartment or whatever than they will to go out and buy their dream home, right? They'll work much harder because we're programmed to do it. If you think about it, right? Your rent or your mortgage, right? They're all set up in these, you know, on these short-term intervals, 30-day intervals, right? For most people. I mean, in most scenarios in the world, you're paying your mortgage or you're paying your rent every 30 days. There are some other situations, right, where people paying weekly or bi-weekly, depending on your living situation. But for the most part, people paying a mortgage or they're paying their rent every month, right? You're paying once a month. And it keeps you kind of zeroed in on this short-term goal. So you can't even see deep a year from now, 2 years, 5 years from now, because you're so focused on the next 30 days. But it's the pain of, it's not the pleasure of, I love my house, or I love my apartment, or I love my condo so much that motivates you. It's the pain of, if I can't get this money together to make this payment, I could end up kicked out of here. I could end up homeless, or I could end up living back with my parents, or you understand that? So that's how we're wired from the very beginning, right? Is to always be moving away from pain. And the most brilliant marketers in the world, they understand that. They understand it's not about moving people towards pleasure. It's about getting people to move away from pain. So that's why they say, when you're talking to people, what you have conversations with people so you can discover their pain points. You can discover the stuff that keeps them up at night, not the stuff they dream about, right? The stuff that keeps them from going to sleep, where they would even be able to have dreams, right? They can't even go to sleep because they're so afraid, or so scared, or so worried about this, and that. Those things are far more motivating in terms of driving behavior than the things that they can go and they can dream about. So I say that to you guys because I want you to understand. I know a lot of people, you know, that have called me, you know, recently. They said, man, I don't get it, man. I'm trying to talk to these people. I'm trying to tell them they could be rich and they could do this and they could do that and do that. And it's just not working. And it's like, well, it's not working because you're spending all your effort trying to move them towards pleasure instead of trying to move them away from pain. And what you want to do is, instead of telling people, hey, man, Sosana's gonna, it's gonna, man, you're gonna be able to live in your dream home. You should just say to people, man, just ask them point blank, man. Listen, if you had, 10 grand a month coming in right now, extra, 20 grand a month, extra, 50 grand a month, extra, how would your life be different? And they'll tell you what their pain points are. They will. They'll tell you right away what their pain points are. Oh man, if I had 10 grand a month coming in extra, man, I would be able to take care of my kids' tuition. And that would just take so much stress off me. I would be able to retire my parents, if I had 10 grand a month coming in extra. I would be able to pay off my debt, and which is overwhelming to me, which is why I'm working that second job. I would be able to retire my spouse because they're killing themselves right now, and they should have retired 5 years ago. I would be, all these things they tell you, this is their pain points, and once you know their pain points, that's what you want to talk to them about. What Sosana could potentially do for them. It's not about you telling them what is exciting to you. That doesn't matter. It's all about you telling them what's going to be effective and exciting for them. And it's like, man, I tell you what. So let me just ask you, like when you just said, like, your kids' college tuition, that's something that really stresses you out and keeps you up at night. If you had, this extra 10 grand a month, that would be something. Were you serious about that, or were you just kidding around? No, I was serious about that. Okay. I thought you might have been, but I just wanted to make sure. You know what? I think I may have a solution for you. And then it's telling them about Sosana. Because here's the deal. Now, when they take a look at Sosana, they're not taking a look at Sosana because necessarily they're looking for a completely interesting and fascinating crypto project. They're not taking a look at Sosana because they're looking for something where they can learn about a voter mechanism, or because there's an affiliate program, or because they can be a part of a community. They're taking a look at Sosana because they're looking for their kids' college tuition. And when they look at it, the only question they're going to be asking themselves is, can this provide this blank, blank, blank amount of money to make ends meet? Can it provide that? They're taking a look at it to see if they can find retirement for their parents. They're taking a look at it, and all of a sudden, their mindset is different. And you're going to find yourself with people who, once they are convinced that Sosana can provide the college tuition, once they're convinced that it can provide retirement for their parents, or it can provide this, or it can provide that, those are people who will be committed. Those are people who will not just simply say, man. "Oh man, it's taking a little bit longer."
Once you see the utility, man,
because this is still, that pain is still there, and they still need to move away from their pain. If you sell me on, if I drive a Honda, and you sell me on the idea of driving a Ferrari, the moment things get a little bit difficult or sticky, in my brain, I start saying, man, my Honda ain't that bad. I don't need a Ferrari, man. I mean, who can afford the gas for a Ferrari anyway? Where am I gonna keep it at? And where am I really gonna be able to? You start making excuses because you start just saying, okay, that's out there, that's outside my comfort zone. Let me draw back into my comfort zone. My Honda is okay. No disrespect to anybody driving a Honda. Hondas are great. I'm just saying the point is this: when you're trying to move some more towards pleasure, the moment they experience any difficulty in getting there, they're willing to abandon it a lot faster. When you're showing somebody the ability for them to move themselves away from pain, people will stay committed to that for a long time. So if you understand about people, it's going to make you a much better marketer. But here's the other thing. If you understand it about yourself, it will also make you a much better marketer, and it'll make you much more capable and able to achieve some of your bigger goals. And understanding that is, like, I know a lot of people, they've set these vision boards, right? And they've they've talked about, hey, I want to accomplish this, and I want to have this, and I want to have that, I want to have that. And I know people said, man, I've had a vision board for 10, 20 years, and I just don't understand. I still haven't gotten to, 99% of the stuff on my vision board. Well, some of the stuff you should have on your vision board is the stuff you're trying to get away from. You know what I mean? It's like one of the guy I talked to today, Mike, one of the things I said to him was the bartender. I said, hey, one of the coolest things to me about crypto is it takes away the geographic restriction of most jobs. He's like, what do you mean by that? I said, well, you're bartending here, right? I said, and that means that they expect you to show up. I don't know how many shifts you work, but in order for you to do your job and get paid, you got to show up to this location on time, multiple times a week, I imagine, at a specific time, and be here for a certain period of time. I said, man, I live in Philly. I'm sitting here today in Florida, but because I have a data connection on my phone, if I want to buy some crypto in the time it takes you to make me a drink, man, I can go buy additional crypto assets and start earning profits. And I can do that here. I can do that if I left the country. I can do that anywhere in the world. So there's no geographic restriction. And I said, most of the jobs that are out there right now, they create a geographic restriction, which means they control our time. They control, our whereabouts. But I love the things technology has gotten to a point where we can make a choice now to be non-geographically restricted to our ability to earn income. And that's one of the things I love about that. Now, what was I talking about? Freedom. I was talking about freedom. And most people, even if they can't explain it, they know that they're frustrated because they're not free, because they're on someone else's schedule. And that is a pain that most people, once you really quantify for them and tell them that there's a way that doesn't have to exist. Like most people say, well, yeah, but I got to earn money. Yeah, you're right. You do have to earn money, but you don't have to earn money like that. And once they really understand that and they believe that, and they believe that there's a way for them to get away from having a geographic restriction on their ability to earn money, people go crazy and they get really committed and really dedicated to show me a way, show me how to not work from home, work from phone, have a laptop lifestyle, how to do all these things that I never even really thought about before. But now that I understand where technology has gotten us to, I can work from phone, which means I can work from anywhere I want to. I can have a laptop lifestyle. I'm on a laptop right now working, but I'm not home. So all of these things now, it changes people's idea about how they can do things. And once you can really lay it out for them, that's the kind of stuff that gets people really excited and really committed long term. And that's what you need, right? You don't need people who are here today, gone tomorrow. You need people who are committed long term. That's where the power really comes from to be able to get things done. So guys, hopefully that's been helpful. I really, again, I appreciate this community so much. And I say it a lot that I appreciate it, this community, but it's not like a program response. It is a true and genuine response. Because I know that it is, I know a lot of people are out there and they're looking for something real, and we have something real. We really do. And I hope you guys can sense that. I hope you can sense our sincerity. We have something real. Real stuff does take a little bit longer, but it will last. And I think that's the difference. I've seen a lot of fake stuff, and I've fallen for some of it, and I was impressed by, man, dude, they got the marketing is great. They rolled it out like so fast. And then, 30 days later, wow. What was I thinking? I feel like I just got run over by a train, and I don't want to experience that anymore, nor do I want you guys to experience that. I always say, if you're brand new to the crypto space and Sosana is your first foray in the crypto, you have no idea how fortunate you really are. But if you're like most of us that have been around for a while, this is the one we've been looking for. And I am so looking forward to here in the very near future, hearing and then sharing the success stories of the members of the community, the people who were here first, the people who stuck it out, and the people who really get the benefit of being the foundation upon which the entire Sosana empire will be built upon. You guys are gonna have some really amazing success stories and rewards for being that foundation. So appreciate you guys so much. So with that said, guys, thank you so much, guys. What I want to say we'll be back tomorrow. I know Mark will be. I'm going to try to be. I have I have some fun stuff I'm going to be doing, and I'm just hoping we can make it back to the computer before 9 o'clock. But if not, you guys obviously will be in great hands with Mark. But if I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you guys next week. I'll be back in the saddle permanently. At that point, then it's just work time, go time. Now I've had a chance to recharge the batteries. But once again, thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much, and have a good night.
All right, guys.
Recording stop.
That was just a training, on how to recruit and stuff. You don't really even have to recruit for Sosana, man. It's optional, but really, I mean, the money is, I believe, is in the utility. But anyway, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow, man. Live trading, 9 a.m. And then we'll be on the call. I might trade in the afternoon. I don't know yet if I'll be home at 3 o'clock for the power hour, 2:45. And we'll be back for tomorrow for the last Sosana update for the week. So I'll see you then, guys. Cheers, man. God bless, guys. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow, man. Cheers.